Okay, my lovely friends, here we go. It is Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. Where do you want to start today's lovely video? How about this? We just got, I'm laughing. I shouldn't laugh at this stuff because it's just too much, but more absolutely abysmal economic news right here for the lovely United States of America, or whatever is left of it, as this corporate agenda, central bank run, twisted system really takes a stranglehold on the people. So we found out, here we go, let me just read this to you. The Empire State Factory Index literally fell off a freaking cliff. Imagine my shock here. Imagine your shock. No, this is exactly the plan that has been put in place by central banks. As a matter of fact, it gets even better than that. So not only is factory activity here in the United States like just about done, okay, it's not even on life support. It's got a lot further to fall from here. But here's a nice headline for you. This is Reuters. The global economic downturn is weighing heavily on international trade. And they go on to say, because there is less demand for products across the board. Really? Oh, imagine my shock there. How about you? No, you see, you understand what's going on here? I think you do. We've been outlining this since, forever now. What are they doing? What are central banks doing? They're being very successful right now in crushing demand, or crushing the man or woman. Period. That's where this is going, and they're not even done by a long shot here. And the interesting dynamic here, and it's still being fist-fed to everyone via the mainstream propaganda ministries, is this new word, disinflation. It's disinformation here. You remember how many times have you heard, oh, inflation's peaking. Oh, it's peaking now. Oh, wait, we were wrong a month ago, but now it's peaking. Oh, no. Maybe we got that wrong too. No. You see, this is another lie, again, part of the whole thing going on here. And now they had to come up with a new catchphrase. And the new catchphrase is disinflation. Now, what they're not telling people here is, and I don't give a damn what's coming out of the mouth of central bankers or the mainstream propaganda ministry. This whole scheme, what central banks are doing by raising rates here, first of all, it hasn't done a damn thing to stop inflation. We're getting disinflation, though. Disinflation, the pace at which inflation is rising has slowed, according to what they're telling us here. And maybe some of that is true here, but it has nothing to do, zero, with what central banks are doing with their raising rate scheme. This is just a method here to kill demand, which it's working. You see this being reflected in the Empire State Factory Index here, and the fact that global trade is just about done as well. Anyway, it's the issue of inflation is really a dynamic involving the ballooning, or ballooned already, hyperinflated, beyond anyone's wildest dreams, money supply. You want to stop inflation? You want to stop disinflation? Disinformation, you contract the money supply. You know that. I've been saying this since forever. Not a word, not a single syllable about contracting the money supply from one, not even one of the mainstream propaganda ministry channels. That should tell you something here. They're not allowed to talk about that. Why is it, let me ask you, that they haven't brought out an economist on, again, a single mainstream media outlet to say, hey, you know what? Raising rates, oh yeah, it's really working great. But if you really want to stop inflation, you got to contract the money supply. They can't say that because, you see, the money supply globally must inflate. It must inflate, and they need to keep people distracted from that. You remember, it's look here, don't look over here. Central banks are going to continue to inflate the money supply. Again, and this is multifactorial how they're doing this, pulling cash into their now wars, expanding wars, trillions of dollars for this and another $1 trillion for that. It's the mechanism, but people are not being allowed to know that at all. So let us move forward here a little bit. So again, I want to hear from you. Okay, I like to throw out a little question once in a while. So what do you think about the narrative change from First of all, it was temporary and transitory inflation, which is proven to be a big lie. And you and I knew this from day one. Go back to my old videos. I was laughing. You and I laughing our asses off. Oh, really? Oh, it's transitory. It's temporary? Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is going to go on and on and on and on. And it looks like we nailed that one to the wall. Then they went from peaking to now disinflation. And who knows what other catchphrase they're going to throw at us in a few months when inflation continues to rise, because it's exactly where it's going to go. Inflation has nowhere to go but higher here. And the fact of the matter, I want you to think about this too. All right. So clearly demand is being affected by what the central banks are doing here, and they're deliberately trying to crush demand by killing the consumer. So what we have here is an environment where there are now less products being made, but meanwhile, an inflating global money supply. So you have this inflating global money supply, or cash supply, it's not real money, chasing a lesser amount of goods. It can't be stopped. You can't just turn off the spigot here. You understand? But that's another thing people are not being made aware of. But then you got people like Fed President Bulltard, Bullard, who's trying to say, oh, the money supply is contracting, and we can tell that because people are draining their money market accounts, and their bank accounts are also being drained. Yes, that's because people are pulling cash out of these accounts just to make ends meet. Meanwhile, what are they doing? They're borrowing beyond their eyeballs. Credit card debt continues to skyrocket. Household debt, personal debt, consumer debt doesn't stop. It's crazy, people. But again, you and I understand the mechanism. But I don't know about you. It bothers the living shit out of this guy sitting here. Let us move forward. So, I want to laugh sometimes when I hear about these so-called economic numbers coming out of China. They're also completely fake. What did we just find out? What did the super bank, Goldman Sachs, just admit? That the data is inaccurate? The data that Goldman Sachs is said straight out that the data that's being put out by the government on jobs is inaccurate. So what they're saying is it's fake. It's all fake. And with regard to China, you can't trust a damn thing that comes out of that place, okay? So with regard to China, we found out that their growth in China missed the mark by X amount. Well, let me tell you something. It missed that mark by a lot larger margin than when they're letting people know about. It's all fake. It's all controlled. It's so sick. But once in a while, a real headline comes, truth here. The global economic downturn is weighing heavily on international trade. Duh. Did you and I not know that before? Of course we did. It's so sick, people. And also, with regard to the super bank Goldman Sachs, they had their worst earnings miss in a decade. Look, the banks are in trouble here, people. I don't know another way to put it. Doesn't mean their stock isn't going to go higher moving forward. But the banks are in trouble here, and this is why. What did we find out? 2 weeks ago, I think it was. I spoke about it here. We discussed it. The banks are seeking a new lifeline to the Federal Reserve. They already have a main line directly to the Federal Reserve to be reliquified or, get as much cash as they want from the Federal Reserve, which is also massively inflationary as well. These institutions, again, think about it. I'm just going to outline it again because I think I've put it in the most simple terms you're going to find here. No loans, no deals, no deposits, and debt defaults are on the rise, okay? So what's going to happen here is just like last time. They're going to get bailed out or bailed in. They're not going to be allowed to fail. You are. You already are being set up to fail, as central banks have declared full-on open war against the citizenry of not just the United States, but the entire world here. What is the number one product of the United States? What export product, if you're new here? I know people that follow my work are going to know the answer like this. But if you're brand new here, I want you to ponder something. What is the number one export product of the United States? Exactly, inflation. The United States is the greatest exporter of inflation in the history of the world. And how do we do this? Via the US dollar being the world reserve currency, at least for now. We'll see where that goes down the pike here. There's been a big move for years to dethrone the US dollar here. And the only way that's actually going to happen, and you know what I'm going to tell you, I believe at least, is a full-on war, world war, and millions of people are going to lose their lives. Anyway, let's move forward here just real quick. As I am doing this video blog, stock futures are lower, not anything dramatic, but lower nonetheless. You know, with regard to the drivers of this market, the debt market, the 10-year yield, the US dollar index, the relative strength of the dollar, nothing major going on here. Relatively flat, relatively stable. Crude oil's catching a bid. That's the other element here. You know, there's three elements to this that really kind of have to work more or less in concert to push stocks higher. That is the 10-year yield remaining stable. Global bonds not selling off. Okay. The relative strength of the dollar staying weak or weaker, and crude oil coming up the back. You understand? Crude oil getting propped up. If those three things happen, nothing else matters. Factory activity falling off a cliff won't matter. Earnings won't matter. Forward guidance doesn't matter. PE ratios don't matter. Nothing. As long as central banks can, again, foster that illusion of stability in the debt market, well, then the stock market will go higher. Okay, the drivers, if the drivers remain stable, cash will move into the stock market. So just remember that. If in fact this doesn't happen, if we see a sell-off here in the global bond market, rising 10-year yield, a relative strength of the dollar taking up the MMRI, Mannarino Market Risk Indicator, again, free to everyone, link in description of the video. If that goes up, market's going to hate it. We know where the lines in the sand are. 300 is the absolute limit. That's where they stepped in last time. 250 seems to be the new line in the sand. They're not going to allow the MMRI to get higher than 250. We're sitting at about 2.25 right now. All right, look, so that's where we stand with that. You got Bitcoin over 21,000. Cryptocurrencies doing okay. Gold and silver under a little bit of pressure this morning. That's the setup, people. That's the setup for the way things are. But the beauty of this entire thing is we're already doing everything that we need to do. Not only are we raising our awareness, we're paying attention to what's going on here, we are set up. We're in the right spots here. Understanding that you need to have exposure to commodities here. I've suggested several exchange traded funds on this blog, and I sent out some in my newsletter free to everybody. Again, link in the description of this video. With regard to the market, I'm long this market. I own a lot of JEPI, ticker JEPI, pays a nice big fat monthly dividend. It's a nice hedge against this entire thing, meaning, and you also get exposure to the long end of the market. If again, they can keep the debt market stable, relative strength of the dollar weak, market's going up. It's that simple. Anyway, look, you're in the right spots, all of you, but here, these are the best bets of all time right here. You got it? Silver, my favorite asset of all time. I love gold too. Anyway, and I love all of you. That's the truth. Please do share this video. Get it out there. Let me know what you think. Please. Anything interesting here? Anything kind of catch your attention? Anything a shock or a surprise to you? I'm so shocked. I'll see you at the end of the day.